Hello there, you amazing viewers and subscribers, and welcome to a brand new Star Trek video for today. So in this video, as you can most probably tell, I have finished watching Star Trek Voyager Season 2 and coming on to Star Trek Voyager Season 3. So, before I start the third season of Star Trek Voyager, I thought I'd do a review on Season 2 of Star Trek Voyager, and I'm going to take a bit of a break from Star Trek Voyager for the rest of the day and start again later on, because I'm going to start watching a Doctor Who story so I can actually review the Doctor Who story for this channel. So, Star Trek Voyager Season 2, as you know, I own it now in this big massive Star Trek box set, with all 7 seasons all together, as well as having them all separately in this fantastic casing. Now, there are 26 episodes of this season, a lot more than you have in the first season, because in the first season it's only 15, where here it's actually 24. Now, we do have a good season, to be honest with you, here, rewatching a few episodes. Yeah, there's a couple of bad episodes, like you do in every single season of a TV show, like many in Doctor Who or in Star Trek or Knight Rider and stuff. There are some very, very bad episodes in here. So I'm going to go through each episode, what I personally thought about this each episode, and how do I think of this season as a whole. So, in the very first episode, it's called the 37s. So, while travelling in the Delta Quadrant, Voyager picks up a space debris, well, a rust trail in a way. It's like a rust trail to an old truck. An old farmer's truck, and then they go to a planet and they find out there are some humans alive from the 1930s. Again, this is a good episode. I do like it because this is the very first time we actually see Voyager can actually land, the actual whole starship can land on the planet by turning off the engines in thrusters and landing on the ship by using like claw things in the hull. Again, I do like this episode. I like the way you have Tom Paris showing his love for old vehicles, as well as other stuff. So the second episode is called Indulgence, when now this one is actually set with Chakotay sitting in a shuttle to try and contact his father, who through the stars, where he's actually attacked by a Kazon Nistrum ship. Now, while being actually captured by the Kazon, he is come under a literally reference of a young Kazon, played by the actor who plays Quark in Quark's nephew Nog, aka in Deep Space Nine. Now, again, I do like this because it shows the kind of position between the Kazon and the Federation, where Voyager's traveling through the space, and the way the young Kazon actually wants to should have died, so he could have actually earned his name, but Chakotay keeps saving his life. Next episode is called Projects, where the Doctor finds that he can't really decide between reality and illusion. Well, this one is actually kind of odd because it has Lieutenant Barclay from Star Trek The Next Generation. In this episode, he's actually created like a holodeck sort of thing to try and contact with the crew of Voyager, and only the Doctor experiences it, so it's a bit Santon. Now, in episode 4, again, this one does kind of reveal a bit of recycle a bit of TNG with Spock, but for Kes, it reunites her kind of sexuality, like that she's like ready to have a baby. She's in that type of, how can I say it, like Pomfar, like the Pomfar for the Vulcans. It's their mating season, where us humans, we could just go and get on with it straight away. Kes is a compa, as I did say in the first season's review, so it takes her species around about 5 or 6 years, because they only live for 9 years, to get to that stage where she needs to, mate and have a baby. So that episode's set round about that, and of course you have a new swarm in the Delta Quadrant, which is not really a great episode. Now, episode 5 I used to like, even though you have a time Nistrum that literally takes Harry Kim out of time and pops into an alternate timeline where he's actually on Earth, not on Voyager, through the Delta, where Voyager's trapped in the Delta Quadrant, It's a new episode. I actually do kind of like it, being set in the Alpha Quadrant. I like the way they've set up a new runabout, the Yellowstone runabout, I would actually like to see that return in Voyager have in at some point in Star Trek show have a new Spectrex for that ship. Twisted. Now, Twisted, I have to say, I'm reading this off a piece of paper, what I've actually written on it. Now, Twisted, I think, is the sixth episode here. Again, this one, I don't really remember much about this one because I really don't find this one as interesting as most other episodes. Partner Trium, which is Parturint, with Tom Paris having a crush on Kes. Again, this is where you see Tom Paris and Neelix fight, where it's pretty much complicated, where Neelix and Paris end up crash landing on the planet, and they got to survive by being like a kind of mother to this alien. It's a kind of a good way. It's good to see Tom Paris get his ass kicked by Neelix. It's absolutely funny. I have to say, I do like the fight in the restaurant bit of Voyager where Neelix is, where it used to be the captain's old dining room. Kind of a good episode. Episode 8, I have to say, with Janeway having disturbed effects of the holodeck. So in this one, she literally goes into a holodeck as she's there stressed, and the doctor orders her to have some time in the holodeck. And then when she's walking around, she ends up seeing like people around and stuff from the holodeck novels, which is good. Next is Tattoo. Now this one has a bit of Chakotay, something he remembers seeing on Earth during his teen years, with an old symbol that explains the people that his father thinks are from another part of the universe, which is a really good case. Cold Case. Now this one I absolutely love because it's set 10 months after Caretaker, and the USS Voyager end up encountering the Caretaker's female mate with some Ocampa on a space station, and it's a really good story, to be honest with you, because in this one she thinks Voyager killed the Caretaker, and especially when they actually make a cure, like a weapon to use to try and kill her, she actually leaves the ship. It's a good way to actually introduce the episode, because I do like the Ocampas. The only thing I actually noticed watching this episode, and let me know in the comments if you've noticed it while watching this episode, that one of the people that played the Ocampas also played the Vulcan Cyric in Star Trek Enterprise. So it's a good way to see an actor. I'm like, hang on, he was in Enterprise. Yeah, he was. The actor that plays the Ocampa was actually the actor that played in Star Trek Enterprise from season 1 to 4. So it's a great way I actually noticed that actor who played the role in another Trek show. Episode 11, I have to say, it's a way they bring back Seska by using a Federation signal to try and trap Voyager and Janeway, where in fact Chakotay goes instead, and she ends up kidnapping Chakotay and steal a bit of his DNA so she could try and impregnate herself while using it, which comes later on through the season as it doesn't work out that entirely planned. Episode 12, I have to say, on the way mission, 2 of Janeway's officers are kidnapped by Morocco soldiers, and the captain is secretly stored away. Now this one I find really, really good in another way, because it's them pretending not to be Starfleet officers on an abandoned planet. This planet is run by some really, really nasty people that end up hitting Janeway, and they actually kidnap Tuvok and B'Elanna Torres. So that was a good episode, but then when the person that saves Janeway actually ends up dying, and Jeremy has to pretend to be his daughter in his last moments, which is really heartfelt. Next is Prototype, where we have Voyager stumble across in the middle of a robotic war. Now, in this robotic war, these robots kidnap B'Elanna Torres so she can build them a prototype. And when she realizes what she's done, she ends up destroying the prototype in her own way by literally getting like something to stab it into the chest unit, which is a good episode in a way. I do like the way she speaks of Lieutenant Commander Data. In that way, I do like the reference to Data in this episode as well, to another race of cyborgs. allies now, where Voyager is actually under constant damage and attacks from the Kazon. So in this episode, you see Janeway trying to make an alliance with different factions of Kazon and stuff, and then it ends up going completely wrong because the people that the Kazon have hunted down, aka is a traitor to them, ends up attacking the conference, ending the alliance. Threshold, now, this isn't a good episode. This is the one where Tom Paris becomes a kind of lizard by breaking the Warp 10 theory. Yeah, this one isn't really good because after Tom Paris kind of mutates into this lizard person, he then kidnaps Catherine Janeway and then takes her to a planet where she's also been mutated by the effects of the Warp 10, and her and Tom Paris end up having babies. Even though she even states in the episode she would never thought of having children with Tom Paris. Unfortunately, that's what's happened in this episode. Maud, now this episode of Maud, I absolutely do kind of like this episode because this is where we have a murderer, aka a former Maquis who is Betazoid, who basically kills a member of the Voyager crew. And in this one, Tuvok wants to understand why he killed the crew member, so he tries to do a mind meld, and the mind meld basically breaks down Tuvok, and Tuvok ends up becoming infected by the killer's, the killer. Episode 17, I have to say, while detecting a Cardassian weapon in the middle of the Delta Quadrant that was actually captured by the Maquis and programmed by B'Elanna Torres to try and destroy Cardassian ships and warn Fenosian starships out of the way, it goes completely wrong in this case. Without being noticed, it's been transferred to the Delta Quadrant. It goes and attacks innocent spaceships and is about to go and destroy a actual peaceful planet. And then Janeway managed to make friends with it after it's destroyed. Death Wish. Now, I have to say, I do love Death Wish. It's a good episode. It brings back Q. Now, Q is one of my favourite entities in the Star Trek universe. I like him in The Next Generation. He appeared in one episode of Deep Space Nine. And he's in Voyager Season 2, 3, and of course 7. As well, he is coming back in Star Trek Picard Season 2. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing Q's return in Star Trek Picard. Now, in this one, I absolutely do like the episode Death Wish because we have a Q who wants to kill himself. So the Q continually literally is trapped him inside a meteorite. So he can actually try and not kill himself. Where Voyager actually accidentally transports him out. So when Q's appeared and Q goes, "What have you done now, Q?" And then when Janeway goes, "I suppose you're the Q that I've been warned about." And he goes, "What has Mr. Jean-Luc been talking about me?" I absolutely love John D. Leeson's performance as Q. And I like the way he literally gives the other Q the ability to kill himself. I absolutely do like that episode. Death Wish is a great Q episode. I do like it, where you experience more than one Q. That's what the one thing I have to say. Life Signs is episode 19. Now, this is where we have a Floridian, who is the species that come under the disease that has to steal body parts. And the Doctor basically creates a hologram body for one so he can try and help her normal body. But he goes and falls in love with the hologram version and as well as the personality of it. Yeah, hologram falls in love with another hologram. It's okay, but until you see the kind of dance bit at the end of the episode where she's kind of mutated and stuff because of the disease, it's like, ugh. Now, the episode 20, I do have to say, we're seeking better content for his daily ship. Now, in this episode, again, it is a kind of another... You know what I'm about to say. It's another Kazon episode. So, after Tom Paris kind of basically breaking the rules, trying to persuade people that he wants to leave the ship, why? There's an actual spy talking to the Kazon at this point in Voyager. And Neelix undercovers it all, where Janeway and Tuvok basically had no idea who was being the spy until Neelix becomes the kind of reporter he is in this episode. And Tom Paris gets to kick Kazon's But Addy escapes in their shuttlecraft and gets back to Voyager before the whole bit with Kazon taking over Voyager is actually prevented until later on in the season. That's episode 20. Now, episode 21, Deadlock. I absolutely love this episode where you have a Third ship heading towards Voyager after Voyager is basically split into like two, where you have Ensign Wildman, Baby dies, and Harry Kim dies because of the ponton attacks. Well, another Voyager, everybody is still alive, and a breach is happening between the two ships, and the Virginians attack the one version of Voyager where the other one blows up, and then the crew of Voyager carry on repairing the ship. Now, Innocent is next, where I kind of like this one, where Tuvok encounters 3 frontal children on this planet. Now, this one is where their whole body clock is different to ours. So, in fact, they actually are born really, really old. And then when they turn into children, that's when it's time for them to die. So, Tuvok kind of, in a way, encounters 3 children. He's trying to help them, like saying, I'm going to help survive, like make you survive and stuff, where in fact he can't do nothing because it's their time to die. Now, the Fawn. Now, this one I really don't like. I don't like this episode. It's one of the worst ones. It's even out there with Threshold. We're actually orbiting a planet. They actually income a system that basically allow people to survive inside a bioped thing with minimum life support and stuff. And I absolutely do like it, where Harry Kim and Taurus gets kidnapped by the computer, refuses to let them go, and Janeway has to trick it. Kind of love that. Episode 24 now is Tootleks. Now, this one is a really interesting episode where you have Commander Tuvok and Neelix's chemicals kind of get mixed in a transporter pad with a flower, and then they become as one as Tootleks. So when they're trying to fix the problem, they can't. So 2 weeks later, after Tootleks becomes part of the crew, he tries to say that Janeway is trying to create murder and stuff. So Janeway does kill him by separating Tuvok and Neelix out of him by using the transporter beam. So Tootleks is a kind of a good episode. I understand why Janeway had to do it in a way, just so she can try and get Neelix back and Tuvok. In a way, people think that, oh, this is a bad action for Janeway. I really understand why. Tootleks shouldn't really be alive. It was a transporter accident, so Janeway's not in the wrong here. If anybody disagrees with that, let me know in the comments. I do think Janeway's not in the wrong for killing Tootleks. Now, resources. Now, Janeway and Chakotay have actually become under a paradoxin or something. They have to abandon the ship and stay on the planet, where Janeway has given orders to Voyager to carry on back to the Alpha Quadrant, where the crew of Voyager actually don't listen to the rules and they go back and cure them anyway, which is another good episode. Then we come to episode 26, Balex Part 1. Now, in this episode, Chakotay receives a message from Seska saying that the Kazon Nistrum are going to kill her son, which ends up being fake. So when Voyager goes into the rescue mission, they end up being took over by Kazon, and Seska's alive holding their baby, and Chakotay looks absolutely gobsmacked. And especially with the Kazon Nistrum's leader, Kovak, if that's his name. Sorry if I haven't said that right. Is there saying that who can impregnate their woman and then abandon them? Is absolutely wrong. And then you have Chakotay going, is that what she's told you? Don't believe me. She's completely lied. She's took my DNA without me knowing it. Which we see early in the season. So, after that, the crew of Voyager are actually abandoned on a prehistoric Earth with cavemen, with volcano, and a kind of like a dinosaur creature that goes around eating them. You see them being abandoned, and then it says to be continued. So that is Star Trek Voyager Season 2. A bit of dabs of episodes and stuff. So, what do I personally think of this season? Yes, it's a lot better than Season 1. Season 1 is the start of it. This is where it starts to get better. Do I remember half of these episodes because I haven't watched Voyager in a long time? Yes, I can actually say that I have. If I was to pick 3 of my favourite episodes from this season, I'll have to say it will actually be a lot of different oddities for me, because it's the Death Wish for 1, because that's Return of Q, Basic Part 2, and Two Flex, because I actually do quite enjoy Two Flex. It's a good story to enjoy. Do I think of Janeway being harsh in Two Flex? Not really, because Two Flex shouldn't really be alive. It was a transporter accident. So, yeah. Let me know in the comments what you think of Star Trek Voyager Season 2. Is it one of your favourite seasons out of the Star Trek franchise? Is it your favourite Voyager season? Now, join me next time for a review on Star Trek Voyager Season 3, which will be probably out same time next week. I have to say, I do like Season 3 of Voyager, because at the end of Season 3, that's when they bring in the Borg. Now, if you don't know anything about the Borg, check out my latest Star Trek video where I've done a review on the Borg and talked about them in their own case and stuff. So thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe and share. And please join me later on today for a Doctor Who video related. Thank you for watching, and Paul Bailey out.